the other one is here. If that's what you're wondering, let me address it. In this live, I'm gonna address the entire question, and now also I'm gonna address. Oops. I'll call me later. Okay. In this question, in this live, I'm gonna address. Sorry, I got this little disrupted. All right, so let's talk about it. Why those could be that much difference. So I'm gonna pull out 2 projects and 2 budgets, and we're gonna compare. All right, this is one budget. This is for $147,225,000 project. This is how I used to do proposals when I started. I couldn't do any better. I didn't know any better. If you see right here, this is the entire description for this project. It says upgrade all the system that knows knob and tube and whatever it is, kitchen, got out, right? It just can't tell what we're gonna do, and then just $43,000, and then $9,000, and then $7,000, and then $49,000. That's how we used to do the budgets back in the days. Now, if you wanna compare this to, for example, this right here, starts things the permit, what's gonna be involved to do the paperwork, what is the investment required for that part, the demo part. Let me just let me pull out something easier. Let's do a bathroom remodeling. Here's the permit application, and this is the investment required right here. It's $1,500. Here's the demolition part. Something going on with my chest. And then as we go below, here is if we need to reframe as needed. For example, if the house is very old, we gotta reframe the floor. There is the plumbing lines, plumbing system, water lines. Here is the electric part. Here is the waterproofing part, and let's go on and on. Everything is breaking down in pieces. So now you have, what is this option? What is this other one? If we have this option, where is in one page the entire project, or in multiple pages all the description. What do you think is gonna give you more peace of mind, more transparency, and also know exactly what you get it? And here's the cool thing, all the way down here, when it comes to the selection, everything is right here with the links where you can actually see. For example, here's the bathtub, with the links that you can go and see the bathtub by yourself. See right here, here's the bathtub, here's the price for it, and also there's more options right here, and you can see all the specifications if you really want to get more deeper. And here's more options, more expensive ones if you want to. Now the question will be, what will give you more transparency? A budget like this or a budget like that? So that's one part. Maybe the scope of work, or maybe the transparency is not there. Right here you know what you're getting. Over here not so much, because you know kind of the main work and the small works, and that's it. Over here you can see everything's gonna go needed for your project. And also, if with that we attach the render, how space gonna look like, then basically everything ties together. So that part is over. So now let's talk about the other part that could be, that may affect the price dramatically, which is right here. Where does your money go? This is the great. This is the best question I ever been asked myself. I know my picture doesn't look that good. I think I'm more prettier than the picture, but I think ChatGPT really make me look that great. I'm gonna ask him next time to make me look more handsome. Don't you guys agree on that? Alright, so how do you understand price? How we build a budget? How really get to where you can actually see, like how do we get here? This is the render. How do you get, where is the number? Where is the number? Come on. No. How do we get here? Like how do we get this number? For example, let's start right here. Let's do from the beginning. Like how do we get 1,500? Why is 1,500? Right? That's a great question. So, or how we get the demo part 5,340? Like what does that include? and this is the best way to explain it to you guys. Okay, so the money that we need to, so let me break it down more easy for you guys. All right, so first thing, in any job there is expenses, right? There is the indirect cost, which is labor and material. It's right here. It's better to explain. Right here it says direct cost. It's all labor and material. That means that part is gonna cover the labor to do the work plus the material to do actually the work. But here's the problem. The thing is, does not end right there. Now we need to pay the members on the office. We need to pay the tools. We need to pay the insurances. We need to pay everything to run the business that you don't see it. Even we need to pay in advance for the, you know, for, in this case, for Haiti, for Patricia, who runs the office, for the follow-ups, the updates. So all of that money, we call it overhead. So that, which also the other way is indirect cost. So it's a direct cost, which is labor and material. Recap, overheads, everything you don't see that needs to run the business. If you add those numbers together, now we call it a break even. So at that point, one second, there's one more thing we forgot, is taxes. Like we gotta pay taxes for that money. So we add all those three together, direct cost, overhead plus taxes. If we add all of those and then we pay everybody and there's nothing left, we call it break even. So we don't make any money as a business. So no money left. That will be fun if we do this for fun. But what if something happens, something big happens in the company? We need a new truck. We need new tools, right? Or whatever it is, right? If something goes off, we really go back and fix that problem. So that's where we need the extra net profit. Plus, we gotta make some money. Company has to make some money, otherwise to reinvest in the business and grow. Other than that, we're not able to happen. Like, or invest in marketing, invest in branding, all of those things. So that's how we really, as a contractor, we price jobs. Direct costs, which is labor and material, all the overheads, taxes so you don't go to jail and we can stand behind our work, and last thing, net profit. If you add all those things together, that's basically how we get to those numbers right here. 40,000, 5,340. That's all the direct costs, which is downstairs, all the labor, mask, gloves, everything you need to make sure the job is done right. Then all the indirect costs, which is office, team members, insurances, tools, you name it. Just so many things. I have a list of things that overhead they do. We need all the softwares, like you can see, actually, get to use things like all of those part of the overheads. And lastly, the taxes. And we gotta pay taxes at the end of this. Otherwise, Uncle Sam will not be happy, and we're gonna end up in jail. And if we are in jail, we're not able to stand behind the work we do for you guys. And then lastly is the net profit. Add all those things together, then you really have this is how you come up with this number. Okay, now probably you're asking, what's a net profit look like? So we are targeting 20% net profit, because at the end, when everything goes off, things that's really according, sometimes we calculate 5 days instead of taking 6 days or 7 days, then that 20% would really become 10%, sometimes even 8%. But we target 20% net profit at the end of every job. Like I said, 99% of the times really goes about 10% more of what we calculate on the time. Something take a little longer than expected, take a little more material cost, and all of those things. So, alright, I hope that answered that question. So when you get in the price, remember, you're not only getting the direct cost. If you only want to pay the direct cost, is if you will do it yourself, and you pay yourself for the labor, and you pay the material straight. But now also, do you have you need to pay your own utilities, your own stuff. So that's kind of the overhead part of it. If you do it yourself, so there's no way around. You're gonna have to pay that overhead. So if you have the time and you have nothing else to do, and you feel your time is less expensive than paying somebody else to do it, then it will be cheaper for you to do it. If you can make more money in your job and you just pay somebody else to do the job, and that your time is more expensive than somebody's time, then you should just pay somebody to get the job done. Alright, I know the topics are a little different, but I was just trying to address the question why the price could be too much difference between one and the other, and I just showed it to you too. One could be the scope of work, it's not clear, it's not transparent. The other one could be, you know, the overhead and expenses per company. Now I'm going to talk about a little bit about this this budget right here. This is how I used to do back in the days when I started. At this point right here, I did not know exactly how much things gonna cost, because this was my budget. I was not sure how long it's gonna take per things. I didn't know. I didn't really track everything. I didn't really build the budget like right here. For to get here, you guys really want to go see the back end of this. Alright, let me just go to actually budget. This is really the backbone of everything. So right here, it's where everything, all the magic starts. See right here, we put the days, how many years, how many hours gonna be, same as this, how many team members, how many hours should take, what type of material we need, basically how we really build this budget. So we don't miss anything. Like we gotta put how many dumpsters we need. How do we know that? It's just because based on the past projects. Alright, project like that, it took 2 dumpsters, 3 dumpsters, and the weight of the dumpster, because of the plaster, of the big tiles, of the mesh, whatever it is, was that much. So we track all that information. Now when we do the next project, we know exactly how much things cost. Obviously something we can be off a little bit, right? But at least we don't really know how much it costs until you track. Once we track that, then you know how much it really costs to the project. That way we don't overcharge you, we don't undercharge, because at the end, if you undercharge, we're not able to produce the work. So everything is staying track. Alright, I hope this information helped you understand why one company could be completely different than the other, and the price could be completely off. Alright, now let me just address with this last one more thoughts going through my head. So labor material, the rest cost, right? That could be different. It's how much the company pays their team members. You know, they take care of them great. Make sure you know they make enough money to support their family. How big is their overhead? How big is the taxes? Now probably the other question you're gonna have is that bigger the company, bigger is gonna be the overhead. That's a little bit about right. But I hear us one really through in there is that bigger the company, they have a bigger overhead, of course, because they have office. You know, they have a bigger office. They have more salespersons. They have a bigger structure. Now, obviously, the expense to run the business is going to be a lot more than a smaller company, or than somebody just starting their project. Now, here's one thing that's not really true: is that this big company, if you have 100 team members on his team, his overhead is going to divide into all these 100 teams. If this other small company have one team, that means it's gonna just divide into one team the overhead. You see, if it's big overhead is spread in 100 teams, then it's just little piece per team that gotta cover the overhead, plus the net profit and all the direct costs. This company is small overhead, but only one group is gonna cover that overhead. Then that overhead could be bigger than the small piece of the big company. So at the end, not necessarily the big companies that will be the most expensive. It could be, but not necessarily all the time. So at the end, if you ended up making a decision by price, you're gonna have to really go understand deeper about the structure of the business and the scope of work, and really compare everything to really go by the price. But at the end, I think you're gonna be working with this company for months, for weeks. I think the trust is the most important thing. Are you confident this company is gonna give you what you need and what you want, and the process is gonna be smooth and you're gonna enjoy it, and when the job is done and finished you're gonna like it. Plus you know this company is gonna stand behind this work, and you are sure that you don't have to worry about it down the road. I think that's the most important, peace of mind and knowing the job is done right. So alright, I hope this information is helpful to you, and now if you know anybody and you think this type of content is valuable to you guys, if you think this content can help you guys to make the right decision, I would love to know more about it, and please share this information if somebody looking for information about renovations. I'll be more than happy to sit down for 30 minutes, 20 minutes, 1 hour, whatever it takes, to explain the process, explain what he should do it to make a successful renovation, what the steps should take, and what every step mean, how it's gonna prevent this family to save money and also to get as much stuff from their investment. I know you work super hard for your money, and we will make sure that you make the right decision. Thank you so much, and happy Tuesday. It's already